Hello. Just wonder if I was coming. Hey, this is AKA Heather Joy, and you guys have boarded the lifeboat. Before I get started, well, okay, first of all, I have to say, Mark made me a video for my intro ages ago. It requires skills I don't have yet. And yesterday I had the opportunity to either sit down here, figure out how to add music to the video, or I could go work in the yard. And guess which one I chose? Yeah, my yard's looking a little better. Anyway, so rule number one, please, no politics. This isn't a political channel. We just leave that to our captain. He knows when it's appropriate, and it tends to be a little too triggering. So yeah, no politics. The second rule we have here. Yes, no overbearing religion, please. This isn't a religious channel. It's fine to make statements like, hey, I'm going to pray for you, or I could not have found my sobriety without my faith. That's all fine. But please don't shove your religion down someone else's throat. Let's respect one another's beliefs, as we do have a huge plethora of different religions and spiritual ideas between the members here. So, yeah, anyway. Number three, please don't swear in the live chat in the comment section. As our captain always says, if you can't control your mouth, you can't control your life. And the fourth one, no trolls. There's no room on this boat for mean people, and I will toss you overboard. I will. I've done it. I don't like to do it, but I've done it. I think. Or did I undo it? I have to think a minute. It wasn't my channel. I had to toss. It was my channel. I had to toss someone up. I have getting people timeouts. That's what it is. Anyway, it's good to see you guys. I am in a goofy mood tonight. I don't know, but let me see who we've got here. Jason, Sandy, Blake. Oh, excuse me. I'll hear it if I Balake. I'll hear it if I don't pronounce it properly. Anyway, John Doe and Jason, and let's see, Goddess Divine, Virginia, Mark is here, Cindy, Zenwen, Charlie, James R from the UK, Mind Games, Goosebump, Valerie, let's see, who else? Anik is here. Dennis Ann, I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. Tommy Bird's here. Let's see. I missed anybody else. Sevenson's here. Awesome deal. Carol's just saying's here. I should have remembered that one. And John Doe, Tina Marie. Wow, we have a lot of people here. This is awesome. Wow, it just keeps going. CK is here. Cool. It's looking good. Anyway. Well, you guys, I'm excited about tonight's. I was doing some reading over, was it the weekend? It would have been last week. I don't remember anymore. Every day runs together when I don't really go many places anymore. Anyway, it's all good. I was doing some reading, and I came across something that I was reading, and I was pleasantly surprised when I finished, and I wanted to share with you what the gist of what I read. I think I just saw Miss Dragon pop in here. Hey, Seagull Rock Squat, Alice and Stacy. Yeah, there's a bunch of you trying to sneak in here. I'm seeing ya. Any case, we need roll call here, do we? Okay. Well, you're getting it, I'm afraid. Anyway, I need to explain something to you guys. I want to explain before I start telling you what I wanted to tell you. I want to tell you guys how I found the boat, because I wasn't looking for it. I did not even realize that there were any sort of addiction recovery, anything on YouTube. I mean, I just had never really thought about it. I guess if I had thought about it, I would have, come to the conclusion, with so many YouTube channels, it's got to be here somewhere. But I wasn't looking for it. I've there's a couple of people that in my area that I know that are addicts that are also members of the church I belong to, and we stay in contact a little bit. And for some of them, I'm kind of on. I'm there on their list of five, that kind of thing. There's a few that I'm sponsors for, things like that. But I don't know. It just I'm kind of used to doing my own thing. Well, I was anyway. I really wasn't looking for the boat, but I had just started a new nursing job where I was having to work around narcotics again, and that is why I had originally left nursing in the first place, because it was just too much to work around. I didn't trust myself. It wasn't a good time. But I finally reached a point in my life where I had, decided, I think I can do this now. And that's when the boat appeared. Like I said, I was not looking for it at all. Not at all. I was really just, I remember opening my phone up, flipped on, and, I touched on the YouTube icon because I was cooking dinner for the couple that I was taking care of, and I wanted something to listen to while I was working in the kitchen. The lifeboat was just right there. I don't know why. Like I said, I haven't looked at it. I wasn't a chase the heat person. I had never, I'm a Marfugal fan, but I had never heard them speak about the lifeboat ever. So I don't know why it was on my feed, but one day it was just there. And I do not know what made me click on it, because usually if something, if I'm not already subscribed to it, when something comes in my feed, I've got so many things to listen to. I'm not going to touch anything new. I'm not going to, click on anything new and listen to it. So honestly, I do not know why, but something made me click on it, and I listened for the whole hour. And this was last year. And it was Mark and Tommy. I was blown away. I was just blown away. I thought there's something different about these guys, and it took me a couple of days to figure out that it wasn't just one thing, because I kept saying I can't put my finger on it. What is it about the lifeboat? There's something special about it. Couldn't figure it out. Couldn't I? Now I figured out it's a bunch of things. It's a bunch of things now. But I think some of the first things I noticed were that Tommy and Mark were the only ones I had ever seen that were offering real light and real hope to addicts and former addicts. And they were being very real, and they were showing what it's like to live with this. and I think that those were the first things that struck me. And then after that, I was blown away with the camaraderie, the live chat. That's where it happens. That's where so much magic happens. I was blown away with all of that. But what I didn't realize at the time was it was all meant to be. And there was a definite reason why it came on to my feed when it did. Everything has just fallen into place, and I'm here right where I belong, and I know that. But I don't know. Some of you that have been here for a while, I have heard me talk about this before, but there's a lot of new people now, and you've never heard that. But I wasn't looking for it. But once, it took watching once, I was hooked. And now here I am talking to you guys, which is kind of funny. But anyway, let me share something with you, and it will explain why I just told you that little story. Okay. Honestly, okay, life has this way of happening. It's happening to you without you fully realizing what is happening. Honestly, and this happens to me all the time. The only way that I can tell that later is as hindsight. You can look back and go, wait a minute, okay, now I see why this happened, why this had to happen, and then it all starts to make sense. And that's how I see myself in so many ways now. I can look back at all the other things that have happened that have led up to this point, and I can't you know, I know a lot of you get very offended with religious talk. You guys all know I believe in God. It's a big part of my life, and you can call it whatever you want. It's the universe, or it's your destiny. I mean, who however you want to interpret things. But I am finding I'm not the only one who runs into this, where they find themselves at a point and they look back on their lives and they see how everything is just serendipitously come together, and it all starts to make sense. And so I know I'm not the only one, as I'm telling you guys this, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way and can look at their life this way. And like I said, call it whatever you want. But every once in a while I have to look back and look at all the changes and think about where I have been and how bad off I've been, and look at the progress that I've made through time. And I've noticed a lot of changes, especially in the last 10 years. For me, huge. So many things are different. So, as I was reading through some things, I really had to start reflecting, and I found a couple of things that I want to share with you guys. I think that you'll probably be able to look back at things too and start to make some sense of your life, and start to see that even if you don't feel like it right now, you're doing way better than you think. And if you aren't doing way better than you think you're about to, I'm sure of it. But I've identified signs, if you will, that show that you really are doing better than you think you are. And it was funny, and it was very, considering my week last week, it was all very apropos. It's all good. I needed to reflect. I needed to look back. But I think there's going to be at least one thing that every one of you can identify with here. First sign that that you are doing better than you think you might be. Honestly, I want you to think first. Okay, the first sign is you have answers that you did not have before. Okay, that's the first sign. I want you to think about all the things that make you feel bad about yourself. Think about, and all of us that are addicts or are former addicts. I don't know where you are in your journey personally, but no matter where you are, it's easy with addicts, people that have been through addiction. They have plenty of reason to feel badly about themselves. They do. We all know that. There's some serious mistakes that we make, some serious judgments, some errors in judgment that we've made, and there are times when we look at all of the mistakes we've made and all of the things we've messed up, and we look back at our lives, and it gives us a lot of pain and a lot of shame and a lot of, you just makes you cringe. You know what I'm talking about, But I want you to think about all of the things that maybe are insecurities for you, or have been insecurities for you. And I want you to look backward just a little bit and think about, where were you maybe a year ago, where, as far as your self-esteem, can you look back at the things that you were a little insecure about? Can you see a difference in how you handle them now? I hope that makes sense. I made myself some notes to remind myself. Oh yeah, that's okay. Sorry. Had to put little reminders of things I don't want to forget to add to the things that I've already written down here. Anyway, I was thinking about the things that, that I used to be very insecure about, and my history of drug abuse. And that was a big one for me. Considering how I was raised, where I was raised, the religion that I choose to still follow, the whole bit. This is something that is hidden. You don't. I never had friends that I used with, or that I ever spoke of this about. I mean, this is very hidden, and I know there are a lot of people that are members of my faith that have addiction. I know there are, but it's very hidden. It's just a thing of great shame for us. It keeps us from worshiping some of the ways that we can if we are worthy. um, it's a great deal of shame. I used to be very embarrassed if my past was brought up, for one thing, and it caused me a lot of insecurity. And you know what I used to do? I used to make excuses for why I chose the path that I did. You know, I knew it was wrong the whole time. The first time I ever used more of a medication that I should, I knew it was wrong, but I chose to go down that path. So that was, really where right there was where I messed up. Um, but I used to make excuses. I had, all kinds of excuses because I do have a huge history of some very traumatic things I've been through in my life, some serious head injuries, some serious accident. I've had horrible mental health. I've had a very long history, but the thing that's made everything worse, honestly, has been the addiction. And I used to blame my addiction on all the other stuff, that it was everything I'd been through with my mother, or it had been the trauma I'd been through from the accident I was in, or, I just had, it was my first divorce or whatever. But I always had excuses for why. I don't do that anymore. First, and the other thing is, I'm not embarrassed anymore. If people want to know if I'm an addict or not, okay, I'm not supposed to swear, so I won't say that word, but yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to tell you about it. If it will help anybody, if me telling my story to anybody will help anybody, oh yes, I'm going to tell it now. I'm not embarrassed. And honestly, after meeting all the people that I have met since I've become a member of the lifeboat, it's almost a badge of honor thing, because the people that I have met are the best people in the world, guys. Kinder and nicer than so many people who have never made the mistakes that we have made. So, I'm it's very different for me. So, anyway, getting back to, I really got off on a tangent there, didn't I? But okay, back to the first thing. You didn't have you have answers you didn't have before, and that's definitely me. I don't feel the same about the things that used to make me insecure, and now, if there's something about me that somebody doesn't like, I don't care. You can think what you want. I really don't care. What matters is how I feel and hear about me, and how the God above me feels about how I serve him. That's what I care about. That's, to me, what's most important now. My grandsons are here. I can hear the little feet on the, on the floor upstairs. I love that sound. Anyway, no, they always make me smile. They're the cutest. Anyway, I want you to think about something. All of us, whether we are addicts, or regardless of where we are in life, regardless of the mistakes or whatever that we make, everybody goes through difficult things, and everybody has to overcome things and keep moving on. You learn things, every time you go through something very difficult, there's something that you learn. And I want you to, no matter where you are in your sobriety right now, if you have made the decision just to even listen to the lifeboat every day, that's progress right there. If you aren't sober yet, but you're listening to what I'm saying, that's progress right there. And if any of these signs that I'm talking about, if any of them don't make sense or you can't get it yet, it might be that it's just about to happen too. I just something to keep in mind. Anyway, the second sign is that you're not blaming yourself for things you cannot control. I like that one. And I remember doing this a lot for a long time, and I am really working hard on breaking out of this way I'd really been trained a very long time ago. But I used to feel very responsible for everybody around me. And if somebody wasn't happy, it was up to me to find out why and try and fix it. And then I didn't worry about myself. I was always focused on everybody else. If I wasn't successful on making everybody around me happy, then that reflected on me. It was a really sick, codependent mess of a situation for years. I don't do that anymore in many instances, but I did catch myself the other day. My husband was very tired. He does shift work, and sometimes he will get home. If it's like if he's done a week of graveyards, this very last graveyard, he gets home. He doesn't nap. He just stays up all day and then goes to bed at night. Trying to reset his schedule for the following week. And those days, he can get a little cranky, and he was not happy. And I caught myself doing it again. And I was apologizing for something that was not my fault. And I had to stop myself. But I'm catching myself, but I'm getting better at it. But that's, I've talked to, it seems like this has come up many times recently when I've been talking to you guys. But, it's really important that you look at your environment and you figure out what things you do have control over and which things you don't, because yeah, you're going to waste a lot of time and energy and not get anywhere but frustrated if you're trying to take care of things that are not under your own control. And if there's something going on around you that you have nothing to do with, there's just no sense in blaming yourself. And people that have been through a lot of childhood trauma, and especially narcissistic type of abuse, people that have been through that are very good at just blaming everything on themselves and taking that all on themselves. And it was such an ingrained automatic thing for me that I'm still sometimes catching myself, but I'm working on it. But that this is a really important thing. But I want you to look back, maybe just to a year ago, and look at where you were. Are you still blaming yourself for things that you have no control over, that are not your fault whatsoever? If you can see that you're not doing that, then kudos to you. Check that off your list, because that's a good one. Um, just something else to think about with this one is, I want you to think about, who is your greatest inner critic? Who is the one who is the hardest on you? I know for me, that is me. And I've had to learn to let some things go and give myself a little compassion, a little understanding once in a while. But if you can honestly say that you are your own worst critic and you cringe, then there's another thing you can check off your list right there. But I found this interesting. I had read somewhere rather recently that a lot of us have a voice in the back of our head that when we are reading you hear that voice reading the words in the back of your head. You know what I'm referring to. Most of us have that. And the voice that you hear in the back of your head and the language that it uses comes most of the time from your parents and the things they said to you when you were being raised. And for a long time, the language that I used to use when I would criticize myself the same words that used to come out of my mother's mouth, and they were unkind things, and that's something I've had to work on. But guys, it can be done. Can be done. Anyway, moving on. The third thing, um, you can. The third thing. Here's a sign. If you can look back on your past and you can see the point where you messed up, right there. That's a good sign right there. And I really, I can look back as far as, I mean, I can look back on so many different things and and find this. But as far as my addiction, I can look back and I know for me thing the thing where I really messed up was when I took off from home after everything that had been going on in the house where I grew up, all the abuse, all the trauma, all the just everything. I didn't realize how much help I really needed, and I had no idea the impact it was going to have on my mental health. I mean, that was a serious problem for a long time. I didn't know. I mean, I really didn't know how much help I needed. But way back then, I should have just started getting help way back then, when I first left home, instead of jumping right into school and right into a first marriage and having children and the whole time going to school. Instead of doing all that, I should have taken care of everything up here. I didn't I didn't realize, but I can see right that's where I messed up, because all of the things that needed to be taken care of led me, because they weren't taken care of, I ended up going into addiction, and I got stuck in that for a very long time. Ruined a lot of good things about my life at the time. Yeah, I can look back and see where I messed up. If you can do that, you can see where you messed up. Wherever you're making progress right there. So I mean, think about that for a minute. There is a great deal of power when you can be accountable for yourself again. And I can see that's where the hugest change in me happened, was when I decided I was going to be accountable. I was no longer going to make excuses. I was no longer going to blame all of my stuff on other people. No, I was going to be accountable for what my life was and is. And yeah. Anyway, the fourth sign, um, you can look back at something really difficult that you have been through, and you can talk about it now. You can speak about it. That's a hard one. Sometimes when we go through something really difficult, I know for me, I need time. I need time to process it. I need time. I just need time sometimes to look at the situation and see things as they really are. Sometimes that takes time. Sometimes you have to just sit back. Sometimes you have to wait for your heart to catch up with your brain sometimes. I mean, but it does sometimes it takes time. Um, but I can look at everything now and talk about it freely. I mean, some of them I have admitted some of the things that I have done that I am most ashamed of. I don't think there's anything I've really held back at one time or another. I don't think there's anything I've held back from you guys ever. If you started at the beginning of when I started coming on and talking to you guys, and you watched all of them, if you watched all of that, you probably know a great deal about me, because I'm not ashamed anymore, and I can talk about things, even the really really difficult things. I can talk about them now. If you can do that, if you can look back and you can talk about something that you have been through that was really rough, really hard, progress right there. Okay. The fifth one, if you can look back on your life and look again at look at the thing that has caused you the most grief, that has been the most difficult thing for you to overcome, or maybe it is something you are still trying to overcome. If you can do that, and your gratitude for the things you have learned, if that outweighs the grief that you experienced at the time, progress right there, guys. Progress. And people think I'm nuts all the time, but I say this and I mean it when I say it. If I had to go and do my life all over again, I would not change a thing, because there was no other way for me to learn the lessons that I have learned other than going through the things that I went through. And that's, for me, I am very hard headed. I like to learn things for myself, and often that's the hard way. I don't know why I'm that way. That's the way I am. But it's the truth. I wouldn't change a thing. I'm so grateful to be where I am, and to know the things that I know now, to have learned the lessons that I've learned. Because now I can reach out and I can try and help other people. I love that. I love that. So, yeah, if you can look back and you're grateful, and that gratitude outweighs all of the grief that you felt, progress. Okay. The sixth one. Okay. Think back to, again, to a time when you were really struggling, and compare it to where you are now. Do you have more energy? Think about it. I mean, really think about that. When we're going through difficult things, especially, it seems when we lose someone who's very dear to us, for some reason, I really notice it then. Every time I lose a loved one or a dear friend, those stages of grief that you go through, and you can go through stages of grief not just for losing people, but for losing something in your life. Even, I mean, this can happen in many ways, and sometimes even when you have to say goodbye to your addiction, you can go through those stages of grief. But going through those stages is exhausting. It is so exhausting. We all know that. You know how it takes sometimes just every ounce of energy you have to keep moving. So think back to when you were really struggling. Do you have more energy now? Are you able to devote your thoughts and your time to other things now? Are you able to maybe do something that you enjoy doing now that you couldn't before? I mean, there's a lot to be said about the energy that it takes to suffer through something. I mean, there's it's true. So if you can look back at a time when you're really struggling and compare it to now, you got more energy. There's some progress right there. And see, and here you're thinking I was full of it, huh? Maybe you still do. Anyway, the seventh sign. Um, are you at a point in your life where you want to try something new? Are you there? When once you have overcome something, you become a little bit. I don't know. You change who you are a little bit. You're a little bit stronger. You're a little bit different. You've changed. You know. And if you're feeling different on the inside, it's naturally going to show on the outside. Honestly, it is. If you've made some progress and you're feeling good, or you're feeling like you've reached a new level or something. Sorry, I'm just debating on whether I want to. Yeah, I'll keep going. I could squirrel off really badly here for a minute, but I won't. Anyway, if you are at a point where you maybe you got more energy, like I was just speaking about in the last one. If you got a little bit more energy to try something new, that's a good sign right there. Um, sometimes it's really helpful to be spontaneous too. If you want to try something creative, being spontaneous is really good for doing that. But sooner or later, the one thing that's constant about life is there is always change. Everybody's going to have to change and continue to move through life. So trying new things is actually a good skill to acquire. Getting good at trying new things, at quieting the doubts in your mind and just going for it. Um, it's a good skill to have, and it takes practice. So, as soon as you have the energy, or if you already feel it and you want to try something new, to do it. Just go with it, you know? Let's see. The eighth sign. Again, look back at a time when you were really struggling and look at your life now. Is the place where you are now healthier? Is your environment healthier than it was previously? Because if it is, again, there's some progress right there. It's I'm definitely in a healthier place. It was so funny. It was weird. Tommy and I ended up moving about the same time. Like within days of each other, we had actually moved. But I'm so happy to be where I am, and I had no clue this was coming. We weren't even looking. Honestly, the where I am now, it fell in our laps, and we couldn't just let it go. But I look at it, even just the move from the city I was in to this tiny little place where I am now. Such a good. I mean, I was in a good place already, but even where I am now is even just much better because I don't have an HOA for one thing. But it's just I'm definitely in all ways, up here in my head, in my surroundings, my home, my yard, everything. Man, different, healthier environment. And I don't think I could have taken on where I am now if I hadn't have made progress up here. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense, but honestly, I had to make changes up here and become healthier up here. And then it was kind of weird. It was naturally, it just happened where now I'm in a healthier environment, but I'm also in a place up here where I can manage this. If I lived where I live now during my addiction, because this is a very isolating place, I'd be a mess. That wouldn't be a good thing for me, but it is now. It really is now. But if even if your environment, even if it's just the changes that you are making or boundaries that you are setting for yourself, that's creating a healthier environment for yourself. So really take a good look at this. Look where you were previously and compare it to now. Are things healthier for you? If they're not, what are you going to do to get them there? Just something to think about. The ninth sign. Okay, I love this one. I love this one. The ninth sign is you surround yourself with people who keep you accountable. I love that one. I love that one because I'm a member of the lifeboat. There's no way. I mean, if you guys, if I started to use again, you guys would, every one of you would see it. Every one of you. Yeah, you guys definitely keep me accountable. You keep me on my toes because I'm constantly having to keep reading and keep trying to decide what am I going to talk about next. But look at your own situation. You know, have you have you got people around you now that you trust, that you care to share where you are in your life? Are they the kind that are going to keep you accountable? Are they going to call you on if you start to go down a path you shouldn't, are they going to call you out on it? It's really important because you know ev- every one of us run the risk every day of wandering down a path we've been down before, even if we know it's not right. It's a risk we all have to take. But look at your life, and think about who you surround yourself with. And if you're a member of the life goal, that's a really good sign right there. Really good sign, seriously. So yeah, the 10th sign. Okay, think about when you were really struggling. Were you isolating? Or was it a situation where you were in a really bad relationship and you needed to get out of it? You know, both both situations can, isolation isn't not a good thing for addicts. It just isn't. And we always say, the opposite of addiction is connection. Do you have a desire for connection? This could mean many different things. If you've gotten out of a really, really rough relationship and you've had to go through those stages of grief, are you at a point where maybe you're starting to think about having a significant other again, or maybe it's a member of your family that you want to reconnect with. I mean, it could be so many different situations. But if you have a desire for connection again, really good sign. Really good sign. And I didn't know that I needed the boat. It was just I'm still blown away how I found the boat, because it was just right there. I couldn't. It was right in front of me. I didn't know how much I needed this kind of connection. I didn't. And it's nice. I love this. I love the boat. You guys are the best. Let's see, the 11th sign. Okay. This one. Okay. Let me look at my notes here for a second. Let me figure out how to preface this one so I can explain what I mean. Um, okay. Think about when you. Okay. This I know how I want to take this one. Okay. When I first went to rehab, I went to rehab in 2007. Kind of went into 2008. When I went to rehab, I went right from the state hospital, and so I felt I for a while now I had very little control over my environment, and for a good reason. But it was very. I remember feeling very like I was being punished. There were so many restrictions when I first got to rehab. I couldn't talk to my children or my husband for, good grief, it was at least 2 weeks if I remember correctly, and my children were still younger at that time, and I was one who spoke to them every day of my life. And the thought of not being able to talk to them or talk to my husband, I panicked. I remember just panicking inside. But it wasn't just that. I mean, it was just there were so many things that they took away from you, privileges and freedoms and liberties, and I mean, just there were so many things that were taken away. And I wanted to know about everything. Okay, why this? Why that? Why? I'm asking everybody why. I just wanted to understand. But I think if I could go back and repeat rehab again, which I really wouldn't want to do, but if I could go back and repeat it, I think this time around, if I could go back but have everything that I've already figured out up here, I don't think I'd be asking why. I think I would just be willing to sit back and watch for a while, just observe things, see how things fold out, or excuse me, unfold. Do you know what I mean? When we are put in difficult situations, we we're we feel that loss of control, and we're trying, we're grabbing from everywhere we possibly can, trying to hold on to something that we can control. We're trying to stabilize things in our own environment and in our own head, and it's a scary feeling. I've learned, over the years, though, that I much it's getting much easier for me to just sit back and watch things happen, and not jump in and try to fix things right away. I don't know. There's so many ways this works into my life now. But if you can do that, if you can look back on your life, and you can see how you've changed, and you know how you'd handle a situation if you had to do it a second time. you know if you can look at that, and realize that you could let things go a little more and just watch things unfold, that's some progress right there. If you know that you would handle the situation a little different the second time around, you know um, that's some good progress right there. If you can let go of some things and just watch what happens and just observe, that's progress. That's growth right there. So let's see. I have one more, guys. Okay. Um, our egos. We all have egos. Some are bigger than others, and sometimes the way our egos work, when we first get an idea to try something new or something different, or we want to, I don't know, we get an idea in our head, this goal that we want to reach. Our egos sometimes don't do us any favors, and the goals that we set become a little unrealistic. Do you know what I mean? Let me give you an example. When I explained to you guys how I found boat, and how I had just started working again. Uh, I've worked on and off, as a nurse, a private nurse, but I hadn't had to work around narcotics. And but when I started doing these shows more regularly, I realized that with our chicken farm and all of my family obligations, we have 6 kids. Most of them are married now, and we have grandkids. I mean, we have a lot of responsibilities with our church. There's just so many things, always going on. And I realized, when I started doing these shows more regularly, I had to decide, I can't do everything. I am getting older. I've got some health issues. I, I realized that these goals of wanting to work and still wanting to do regular shows here, and give my own channel some attention, and all of these things that I wanted to do, I had to think about what are the most important things, and what things can I not do without. And so, yeah, I'm not working anymore. I said I just couldn't do it all, but there was one point where I thought I could, and it was my ego. Honestly, I had to I had to show myself, honestly, and just run myself ragged trying to do it all. Um, but I do have much more realistic goals than I used to. That's for sure. If you can look back on where you are in your life, and you look at some of the mistakes you've made, and um, are your ideas, the things that you want to do and the goals that you're setting now, are they a little more realistic? You know, that that kind of thing comes from knowing yourself, and a lot of that comes from journaling. Um, you know what you need. You start to figure out what you're capable of and what you aren't. I don't know. It all comes with just understanding yourself a little better, getting to know yourself better. But if you can set more realistic goals for yourself because you know yourself better, that's progress right there. So let's see, 6:50, huh? All right, I got 10 minutes and I really want to go see my grandkids. I might duck out of here a little early, but first I want to finish up there. I remember I wrote down something else I wanted to finish up on, and I can't remember. Did I put it there? Oh, I know where I put it. Hang on, let me pull this up. I remember where I put it now. Okay, just something to think about. We talk a lot about self care on this channel. Self care is really important. Self care means that you're doing the things that are required for you to maintain sobriety. If we aren't sober, we certainly aren't good to anybody else, let alone ourselves, honestly. So self care is important. You've got to do. There are certain things that all of us have to do in order to stay sober. Making time for that self care is an act of loving yourself. And there's a lot to be said for that. If you truly care about yourself and you truly love yourself, and I don't mean this in a narcissistic, conceited type of way at all, there's nothing wrong with that, especially when it comes to sobriety. And I have found that when I'm taking good care of myself, I'm loving myself, I'm happy with myself, everything else tends to fall into place. And I've noticed this in my life in so many different ways. So I want you to think about this. If you're not very happy with yourself right now, I urge you to do the things that you need to do to begin liking yourself again. Because if you have a good relationship with yourself, the sobriety thing is a lot easier, guys. It's a lot easier. And everything else tends to fall into place. And it blows me away how time and time again things for me just fall into place. And it's really nice to see that happen. And I really want good things for every member of the crew here. And you guys, if I can do this, if I can maintain my sobriety, it's been more than 15 years now. I can do that. After 15 years of addiction, anybody can do it because I have been, I don't know how anybody can get any lower than where I was. And I'll tell you, I've been in some dark places, but life is so worth it. I promise you, life is so worth all the trouble of getting sober and of staying sober. All the little things that you have to do, it's so worth it. It really is. And just because life might be difficult for you right now does not mean that it is always going to be so. And if you can look at your situation and try to find the silver lining, try to find what you are meant to learn from that situation, you're going to be better off for it and you're going to get through it. But I just want you guys to know you can do this. I believe in you. If I can believe in myself, I can believe in anybody. You got this, guys. I hope you guys, I hope there's at least one thing here that I've talked about tonight that you can make, that you can find some similarities in your own life with. Heather's being serious and I'm giggling at these crazy moments. You guys, I'm a spaz. I giggle all the time, even when I'm in pain. Anyway, I love you guys. I love coming on here and I get to talk to you guys, and you guys are awesome. Wait, what? Sorry. Okay. I really want to go upstairs and see my grand boys. Anyway, I will be talking to you guys again tomorrow. I hope you have a great night. I'll talk to you again very soon. Oh, wait, okay, gotta shut myself off first before I take off. Have a good